Hi ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're doing well today. Today we're going to be making a non-objective drawing. Non-objective means that there are no realistic images in the artwork. We're going to have to rely on lines, shapes, and values in order to make the image interesting to the audience. To accomplish this today, we're going to need a piece of paper and a pencil. Some other things you can use to help out would be a ruler or an object that has a straight line that you can trace. And I also went and found a couple of objects around my house that I can trace. And I found these geometric shapes that I can use. And that's all we're gonna need. So once you have everything ready, come back and we can get started. All right, first thing I'm gonna do, I need to trace 3 to 5 large shapes around the paper. So there's one. Remember, if you don't want to trace shapes, you can just draw your own shapes. You can even make up your own shapes. There's 2. Oops, we're gonna fix our mistake right now. That's better. Let's do 3 right here. We'll make this rectangle go off the edge of the paper. Sometimes it's good to make things go off the edge of the paper because it makes the picture feel like it's larger than the paper. And let's see, we're gonna put number 4 right here. And I need one more. I think I'm gonna use this square again, but I'm gonna put it down here in this corner. And 5. Next, we are going to draw our 3 to 5 lines that cut through the shapes and make them into smaller pieces. So let's see, I am going to start by putting one line that goes through these 3. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so that's the end of the first part. So now we have all the shapes colored in with a range of different values. We have some black, we have some white, we have some dark gray, we have some light gray, and we have some middle gray. So you can see that in some areas, the square is pretty easy to see. In other areas, it gets a little bit more confusing. So we're going to use shading to help bring those squares out and make them pop now. The way value works, which is a little different than color, color's a lot easier because, you know, if the squares were blue and the background was red, it'd be really easy to see the squares. But since they're all gray, we can use the value to make them come forward. So things that are dark are going to look a little bit more like a hole, which means they're in the back. And things that are lighter are going to look like they're on top, almost like a ledge or a platform. So if we were walking across this, you would see that, oh, here's a hole, but I could stand here because it's a ledge. And we're going to use that to inform where we put shadows and where we can put some highlights to make the shapes push even more out into the foreground. So the first thing I want to do is I would like to shade around this ledge here because this white square should feel like it's on top. So we bring a little bit of shading underneath, as if the light's hitting it and the shadow is falling underneath it. And I can, rub that a little bit if I want to lighten it up some. I can use my eraser to erase the edges. neater. And I would do the same thing over here. And the way a shadow would work is it's going to be darkest right here where the light is being blocked the most. And then as we get away from the edge, it's going to lighten until it fades away. Same here. Dark along the very edge. And then it just lightens until it fades away. And that should make that square advance even more into the front. Now, for something that's dark that we want to look like a hole, we can do the opposite. So this square over here looks darker. So we could make that look like it is a hole. Instead of sticking up like this one, it's going to go back like a hole. And we would do the opposite then. We would put a shadow on the inside of the square and make it look like it's underneath all these lighter edges. Looks pretty good. So now what you're going to do is you're going to look at all of the things that you want to be in the front, like the light parts, and you're going to try to put shadows underneath them. At the same time, things that you want to go back into the background, you're going to put shadows on them to make it look like the other parts are on top. Just do your best. It already looks cool. It's going to look cooler the more you shade it in. Just make sure you stick close to the edges. And remember, it's darkest at the edge, and then it fades out as it gets away from the edge. And here it is with all of the shading added in. I could have added more shading, but I decided it looked good the way it was. You can see that the shading in areas like right here, and especially right here, and down over here, they just make it look a little bit more realistic. It creates the illusion of space. So we can definitely now feel that this piece is on top of all those other things, and areas like over here feel like they are way, way, way in the back, like we just fell right off this really bright white ledge into a hole. So between using different values in the shapes and then creating more value changes with the shading, we took this shape drawing and made it way more interesting to look at. And it gives the viewer a lot of different qualities to notice with every shape they look at.